Speaking of flooding, we're already getting it here into Pittsburgh. Several reports there. Oakdale, which is just to the south and west of Pittsburgh. We have pictures now of streets that are flooded and cars that are flooded as well. Again, that's southerly flow, so it's almost hot on the front side of this system. And then it is an Arctic blast. We're talking about air that's coming from deep into Canada down here into Memphis. Now, again, it's not super moist. That's why we're not going to get a lot of accumulation with this. Basically, what Reynolds saw, it's all going to be like 1 to 2 inches of snow and sleet combined, maybe a little icing of 1/10 of an inch type of a thing here. But here comes that cold air coming in. So whatever does stay on the ground, even if it's just rain, you get that cold air in, and that means that we are going to see some flash freezing. Detroit, rain for you. We are going to mix over as well. Rain into the northeast, and again, this is all going to switch around as well. Pittsburgh, Jen, we're going to keep a close eye on this morning. How cold is it in one city versus the other city? Apparently, we're not going to tell you. All right, so we're just going to talk about the temperature gradient, though, and how sharp it is. So, I mean, look at this. Alabama basically all in the green and the yellow, and then Mississippi back in the blues and the purples. This is a very sharp gradient. Something that you can look for when you're trying to figure out if that front has gone through, well, you are going to have to look for those wind shifts, okay? So that's one thing that can really tell you. The temperature is also a very good indicator as well. Lexington, 59, Louisville, 36. They're only 75 miles apart. You could do this drive here just for fun in the morning to feel the difference there. Birmingham, 58 degrees. Jackson, 41 degrees. So that front, Jim, is still getting through the deep south here. Those drops are massive already in Indianapolis. Our highs in the mid-50s yesterday. This morning, almost 30 degrees. Roads seeing some flooding, and also cars are being flooded as well. And again, it's all about this front, okay? Ahead of it, a southerly flow. Winds go from the south to the north, and we are getting rain. On top of places that have already seen snow, places like Syracuse, we are almost 10 inches above average. Cleveland, we are a little bit below average, and same for Buffalo as well by about 3 inches. But what's going to happen is we're going to get more than 3 inches in some of these locations to make up for that. So here we go into places like Buffalo, also down towards the Cleveland area. Mainly 5 to 8 here for some of those heavier totals, but we are going to see icing as well, 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. You have the ability, and sometimes you don't, to go over to the street so we can see what it's like on the street. We're going to show you what it's like here in the air, and I just checked, and as you can see, there are no delays on the board. Now, again, it's still very early in the morning here, so we don't really have a ton of planes that are starting to take off. But as we head through the day, we are going to see some delays there. New York, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis as well. That's where we want to go, just outside of that area, to Jim Cantori, who's been following what's been happening. Winter Storm Hunter. Hunter is the story across the entire United States, though each of us are getting a little something different. A little snow for us here around the Great Lakes and down through portions of the south. And then we have the rainy side of the system already actually prompting some flooding in and around the Pittsburgh area. We have pictures to show you here momentarily. And then behind it, say hello to my freezing friend. It is going to be cold all the way. I mean, we're talking 20 degrees colder than average. And by the way, we have a second shot of this coming in. Salting the roads, they're maybe putting sand on the roads, they're putting different solvents on the road. And we want to talk about different solvents that they actually use in order to keep the roads, you know, nice and clear and drivable. Now, of course, rock salt. We usually can use this down to about 20 degrees. I've seen down maybe to 15 degrees, but essentially down to 20 degrees. And what happens is when you add salt to water, it lowers the freezing point. So that's why when you have salty water, it doesn't freeze as fast as just pure water. Think of, you know, the Great Lakes. That is not salt water versus like the Great Salt Lake, which is salty. You don't see that freeze over like you do the Great Lakes. Then you have magnesium chloride. That freezing point is even lower, so you can add that into the mix. Hey, I say vodka, right? But that's a big party foul, right? If we're just spilling. Think about when your, you know, parents or you put alcohol in the freezer and it doesn't freeze, right? But if you put a bottle of water in the freezer, then it would freeze. It's because that lower freezing point. Now, cheese brine, that actually helps prevent the salt from bouncing off the roads. So that's helpful because that could be a problem. Calcium chloride brings you down even to a lower freezing point. And then, of course, antifreeze here, that is going to bring our freezing point even lower. And a lot of this has to do with the material and having, you know, hydroscopic material in there. So that can help us out. And they're finding that the proteins actually in this antifreeze help stop the ice melt. Jen.